today was the first of the official live streams on Tilt Nexus, and eventually when I move this off of LinkedIn, I will eventually move this off of LinkedIn and then have it exclusively in Nexus, which I absolutely cannot wait to do. I just need to have more than the numbers that we've got. Once it reaches, I think, more than 2,000 people, then I'll post it all over.
How close are you?
240 so far.
Okay.
8,000 invitations have gone out though, so people will start picking them up eventually.
Yes, eventually.
Yeah.
If the ratios of conversions for direct mail invitations are any indication, you're going to need to send about 2 to get up to 2. Okay.
I've done the math for the 50,000 number, and I felt sick.
You've started, and you're already up to 240, and it's only been a matter of weeks, really.
I know.
So cut yourself a little slack and just
cut myself some slack. Have you met me?
Eat the elephant one bite at a time.
No, we eat the whole elephant. That's why I've had to have jaw surgery, because I've eaten too many elephants in one bite.
Or at least you've tried.
That was actually a really good comeback, wasn't it? That was smooth.
That's why you need a jaw surgery. You've tried eating too many elephants in one bite. It doesn't work. You just hurt yourself.
It's okay. It does not stop me from trying.
Fair enough. As long as it isn't taking you out of the game, keep trying.
Oh, yeah. I'm very determined.
This is an iterative process. That's probably one thing people don't appreciate sufficiently about going into business or really any endeavor. Most of your attempts are going to fail.
Do you know what? It's not even going into business. It's for this in particular, it's building out a community, and it's getting people to move from something that they're used to, something that they're comfortable with, and to move into my space. And it's look, my space, not my space, but it's moving. It's getting people to just do something differently, and
people resist that.
Yeah, naturally you would. And it's interesting because now this is a really good opportunity for me to look at the people who are within my network, all 6,000-7,000 of them, and see exactly which ones are really interested in the stuff that I do. Because it makes no sense having these massive numbers and they're useless to me. They're just vanity metrics at that point.
Yeah, that's true to a certain extent. I mean, as long as you're focused on just delivering value in whatever you're doing, we invite people to participate more, participate differently perhaps. But if we just focus on delivering value, that's really the thing to focus on. I mean, a lot of the biggest YouTube channels, they still have, 20%, 30%, maybe 35 subscribers in relation to how many people actually watch the videos on a regular basis. And so there is a break point where you only need a few. Whatever you're doing, you only need a few people to take action, the right few. And so that's who you're talking to. That's who you're aiming for. So yeah, vanity numbers, it helps us feel good about what we're doing.
I think
and you never know when one of those people will start to engage.
Yes, of course, absolutely. And, I'm in the process of manually and painfully DMing people who are within that 23,000 on LinkedIn. I've started on LinkedIn first because it's the biggest one. And I thought, right, let me start there. So I've gotten through 3,500 of them so far. So it's a long process, but everybody's just going to get a message and say, okay, I've moved everything over here. This is what we're up to, and come join us. And whether they see it, whether they like it, whether they click on it, it's down to them at that point. I kind of leave the ball in their court because I'm not going to almost like bombard people with these constant messages going, join my stuff. I'll send it out.
Yes,
look, this is it, join my stuff, and then that's that.
People are very resistant to that. At the same time, it takes like 7 points of contact before somebody acts. So I guess it's like,
look, even to get people when they've booked a podcast with me, it takes me about 4 hours to produce a podcast. I mean, I still haven't touched any of. Yeah, and they are outright refusing to to sign up to something that makes my life a little bit easier so I can kind of keep everything in sync because I'm no longer managing my own emails. So they didn't want to do it. So I just said, well, if you don't want to do it, then that's fine, but don't come on the podcast.
Right, because you're inviting people to come on for free, correct?
Of course.
Right.
The whole thing's free.
Yeah, right. So I saw that post. And maybe, because I hear you, I understand where you're coming from. I also see where they're coming from. And so I wonder if it maybe could be solved with rephrasing it.
Yeah, I entirely understand that it's yet another thing you've got to sign up to. It's yet another thing. But here's the interesting part. The stuff from notifications from Tilt Nexus hit your email anyway, and you're asking me to email you. So if I'm telling you this is going to come into your email, it's for me to use it. It's for me to be able to send it to you in email. So it'll be sent an email, but just through this other method. And, you know, the people who have signed up, who have come on board, they've all gone, oh, wow, this is a whole lot bigger than I thought it would have been. This is why I've been trying to tell you guys to come on board, because it's huge.
Right. Of course, you realize that most of the time, most people are not entirely listening, right?
Oh, of course not.
They're not really reading what you're sending, and they're not really, like, even if they're looking at it, they're not really seeing it. And people forget, and it's just relentless. We're relentlessly bombarded with stuff from all directions all the time.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's a lot of noise to rise above.
Yeah.
So I hear you. I get it. And some people are just having a bad day at the moment. Some people are going to be irate no matter what you do or what you say or how you say it. And at some point you just have to say, all right, we're not a good fit, and better to learn that now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I had one person who I honored their appointment on a Saturday, and it was during the bank holiday weekend, so it would have been a lovely little long weekend I could have gone away for. But I thought, well, I've had 2 podcasts booked for the Saturday, so I thought I'm not going to reschedule them again because you know, they've been rescheduled already.
Yes.
So I'll honor it. I'll not do anything for the bank holiday. I would love to sleep anyway. And yeah, because God knows I needed a catch up. And you know, I just said, well, look, just let me know, because obviously it takes me 2 to 2.5 hours to get showered, dressed, dry my hair, all of that stuff, makeup, and then drive to the studio to then be able to record this podcast. So if I'm saying this, then the least you can do is confirm whether or not you're going to be here. But if I've not heard anything from you at all, I'm not gonna, you know, sit here. I'm not gonna put in all of that effort, drive to the studio. You know, it's not like it's like around the corner from me, 30-minute drive. So, you know, it's a drive down, and then I've got to then drive back. So I was literally just doing 1 hour of commuting just to record a 1-hour podcast to be able to honor that original agreement. And
then they were a no-show.
Yeah, and that's why I said I am making it mandatory now, because you have to show me some form of commitment. You want me to commit, absolutely fine, but you need to show me some form of commitment at least, because I don't think it's fair or it's unfair for me to say I'm giving you all of this. At least in exchange, take 2 minutes of your time. You know?
Right. No, it's perfectly fair. It's a perfectly reasonable request and a perfectly reasonable expectation. Not acted out by many people very often.
I know. But since I've made it mandatory and I've sent a few emails out, people are coming in.
Well,
they don't want to lose their podcast. So it's down to them whether or not they view it as it being valuable or whether or not, you know, their egos are larger than what they think the podcast is.
Sure. Okay, so this is the inaugural podcast From Canvas to Commerce, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I know. This is insane.
We've been talking about this for a couple of months and bouncing around ideas, and
might as well just do it. Get it done.
We might as well.
It is. It's just like there's just so much happening, and it's all happening all at the same time. You know. And I mean, you know, so what's been new for you? Because I've been talking a lot about me. So what's been new for you?
I'm co-authoring a book with a little over 20 other entrepreneurs through a
Interesting.
network that I've joined. I'm producing concept artwork, making good headway producing concept artwork for that insane luxury chess set that I think I've told you
Yeah.
about. So I've been producing that concept artwork so that I can turn it into a pitch deck type video, and attending a lot of, networking events, online networking events, and having a lot of one-on-one meetings with people. So, expanding my network, trying to deepen personal relationships with people, all in the interest of exchanging value, really. Expand my business, help other people expand theirs. And so sometimes sometimes it's about the meetings about me, and sometimes it's about them. And, as you know, I'm kind of an idea factory. And so, like, my brain is a little
Yes.
bit like a lump of dough, and the ideas are like yeast. And just put a little bit of yeast in the dough, and my brain just goes, phew, and I start connecting dots left and right. And,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I just did
That's
that with a friend of mine from my network who's, you know, working through a bit of a rough patch and trying to redirect or relaunch his business. And since I've had quite a few years now of self-directed study in marketing and copywriting, he and I and somebody else from our network have been collaborating to try to get him dialed in and get him launched in his new direction. So like tweaking language in his copy and using an AI art generator. I helped generate some images in line with the new messaging, and so been able to use those in posts and things. I just took an hour or so and created a new logo and some Zoom backdrops for him with the new branding and the new copy, the new messaging, and so just got him sorted out. I mean, it just took me an hour or two to do that with my Photoshop skills. I was happy to do it, and so that's what I mean by exchanges of value. It's just like,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
could do this thing. It's something that you don't have to pay someone else to do now. It's kind of a dawdle for me, but it could make a big difference for you. So here, change it later if you want. I said to him, it's not precious. You're not married to this thing for the rest of your life. This is just kind of like enough to get you started. Like, I looked up, BMW has had at least 10 subtle variations on their logo over the decades. And I told him that. I said, look, you're not married to this thing forever. This is just to get you going, and you can change it later. So don't worry about how much you love it right now. We just need to get the messaging dialed in and get you looking right and get you launched, get you through the rough patch and off to the races. And then you can fiddle with the details later.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. I mean, I've been telling a lot of people lately because people seem to think that when they first start, they need to have a YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, they need to be on Snapchat, they need to be on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why? Where
And a
are your
lot of people
people?
are telling them that they do. Let's be
It's
honest. A
just,
lot of people are saying you have to have all that right out of the
no, you
gate.
don't. You really don't. And that's really frustrating because these people, they don't have time.
Right.
They don't have time. And then you tell them they need to be on all these things, and then they need to have
Right.
different content on all of these things. Where are they going to find the time to do that?
Right. Right. I mean, I'm in that dilemma too. Of course, it might be helpful for me to have a larger footprint on all these platforms, but that's making all that content is a full-time job all by itself. Making my work, the artwork, is a full-time job. Promoting the
Yeah.
artwork is a full-time job. Networking is a full-time job. I mean, it's like I've already got 3 full-time jobs. So, plus
Yeah.
the mental energy and separation that it takes to do wear these different hats. I don't know what it's like for anybody else, but the headspace I have to be in order to make the artwork is radically different from the headspace I have to be in for networking or for marketing and, all of that stuff. It's just radically different. And
It
I
is.
can't just bounce back and forth as
No.
easily as you can trade hats. There's like a detox period or something. They're like
Yes.
opposite ends of the mental pole, at least for me. And there's quite a journey between them.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
hard
just
for me to go
exhausting.
from sales calls to coding to
Mm-hmm.
writing to design back to sales calls. I couldn't do it. I couldn't hack it like
Right.
that. And
Right.
I ended up saying, okay, fine, this week I will do all the coding stuff in that one week. That next week I'll do all the writing stuff. I just kind of kept it like that.
Right.
And I kept my weekends as like the break period. But even then,
you need that too.
Still, yeah. But even then, those 2 days still wasn't enough for me to completely get out of strategy brain, because it's not just a, well, I'll come back to that next week kind of thing. It's a whole mental shift for me, because if I'm creating, I can't think strategy while I'm trying to create. You can't. It just doesn't work.
Distraction from it.
Exactly. And the thing is as well, when I'm in a strategy brain, I'm a little bit ruthless. So like that message came from strategy brain. That message was strategy brain because it was right. I'm thinking about the efficiency, the time efficiency, the money of this, because I'm in this strategic mode. I'm looking at this, you know, if I let one slide, what happens to the other two? Then you know, and it's just, it works up in numbers like that. And then if I were to apply that thinking while I'm creating, it'll be a hot mess.
Sure. You have to.
You have to detox between it.
Radically different headspace. And for non-creative types, it might be difficult to appreciate what it's like. I was trying to describe it to somebody recently, somebody in my network, and they have a daughter who, she's very artistic, but she's also very into theoretical physics and mathematics and quantum physics. And she has this idea, she's at Trinity College, I think, in Ireland, and she has this idea for bridging those things. She sees a connection in her mind.
Yeah.
And she's proposed some sort of project for exploring that at Trinity. Apparently, they're interested.
I can see how that could work.
Right. See, this is what I said to my friend. I said, if your daughter wants to have a chat with me, because my friend showed some of her daughter's work to me and explained how disappointed her daughter is with a lot of the work. And I said, okay, I can see some of the reasons I think she might be disappointed with some of this. I can also see things where she might be doing far better than she realizes or is giving herself credit for. And so I offered, you know, if you'd like to set up a Zoom where you and your daughter and I have a chat, and I'll talk with her about her work and help navigate that a bit, I'd be happy to do that, because I enjoy doing that with people, because people are usually doing better than they think they are.
Oh yeah.
But my friend also told me about this connection of, like, I love that, you know, quantum physics stuff. I'm terrible at maths, but I get it theoretically.
Yes.
The whole energy and vibration thing. And so what I said to my friend was, you know, I gave her a message to give to her daughter. I said, there is a connection, because whether it's theoretical physics or quantum physics or art making or musical composition, we're all sort of playing at the fringes of conceptual reality. It's like we're out at the edges of, like, not even sure we have language for what we're discovering, not exactly sure what we're engaging in when we're out there playing, and really don't understand what we're engaging with. It's like, what's the counterparty in this interaction?
Yeah.
But there is an interaction. We are touching something. Whether it's expressing it in mathematical formulas or images, we're trying to articulate what it is we're discovering out at the fringes. And so I think there is a correlation. Just using different tools to explore the edges of conceptual reality. You know, it's like, where do ideas come from? Where exactly do ideas come from? And how do they find us? I mean, that's a really big question. Right away, we're into mysticism and theology.
Yeah.
You're like, how do you describe this without employing spiritual or theological vocabulary?
No, you can't.
Like, that's why we have that vocabulary. It's the closest we've come to articulating what exactly is going on.
Yeah.
Because there is something we're interacting with and something we're receiving, whether you call it God or the universal mind. It's almost tomato on a certain level. It's like we are interacting with something that is perceptible, something capable of interacting with deliberately.
Yeah.
So
it's
whether
something
it's picking
sentient
up
as well,
because
right.
There's intelligence.
It's not even just intelligence. It's something that we perceive as a feeling, and
Right.
It's the reason why I say
Yeah,
that is
that's
you
part of
look
that
at
inarticulate language is
you
feelings.
look
Yeah.
at how composers write
Right.
music,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I say composers, artists in general are
Mm-hmm.
like this, but composers, because artists can still visualize things. You
Right.
can decide what you want to paint overall,
Right.
but
Right.
when it comes to music, it's a little bit different. You can't really,
Yes.
I guess you can plan a piece, but if you're just kind of feeling through the chords and feeling through the notes, it's one after the other kind of thing. And it just kind of, you develop a melody as you go on. It's probably
Mm-hmm.
the closest in art I can probably, or visually I can explain it, is abstract art. It's completely
Maybe.
unplanned. It's just whatever you're feeling
Right.
goes onto the
Yes.
canvas.
I would agree with that. I've composed a bit of music in my time,
Yeah.
and it is very much more inarticulate feeling based.
Yes.
I
Because,
mean, I was a
and then,
lyricist as well, and so I would superimpose words on top of it, but the music
yeah,
bit
the music,
was
if the music was the first bit, and especially if if you yourself are feeling heartbroken, right?
mm-hmm.
And you want
Mm-hmm.
to create this powerful piece of music that
Right.
expresses the way that you are feeling in that moment.
Right.
So I listen to a lot of, I have listened to a lot of classical music, and probably my
Mm-hmm.
favorite type of music ever is actually melancholic chill piano. Just a guy and his piano, and it's just moody. I love it because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
when
yeah.
you feel so much from it. And
Yes.
in that
Yes.
feeling, you don't really know. Like, yes, he knows all, or she, they know all of the keys, right? They know
Right.
everything, exactly what should come one after the other for it to sound,
Right.
aesthetically pleasing. But
And that's yeah.
when they're channeling almost,
Yes.
because this is almost like free writing or free painting, or like you're literally
Stream of
automatically
consciousness.
just going, yes, where is that stream coming
Right.
from?
And it's not even so much I would suggest that it's not even so much what sounds right. I think that's a little bit more like the phenomenon where we buy things for emotional reasons and then justify the purchase with logic. It's what feels right, what sequence of notes, what melody
Yes.
harmonizes with the emotion. And so it's seeking a kind of alignment and authenticity. I'm feeling this way. This sequence, this melody, this musical phrase aligns with that feeling. And I'm so glad you took us here, because I thought when I was thinking about doing our first From Canvas to Commerce podcast, I thought, we really ought to start with a few definitions. What are we actually talking about? And when it comes to creation, when it comes to design, I have a really simple definition. And it's something that everyone is engaged in every day, even if you don't think of yourself as an artist. An act of design is anything you do to move things from where they are to where you'd like them to be. And so when you're picking paint colors for a wall, or rearranging furniture, or choosing throw pillows to go with your bed, or picking an outfit, you don't have to be an artist. You don't have to think of yourself as an artist. You are still making design decisions.
Of course. We make design decisions all day long.
All day long. Everything is an act of design. And more than that, kind of like the musical composition idea we were just discussing, here's a perfect example or illustration of that. Everyone has had this experience. You're with some people and somebody says, hey, let's watch a movie. And somebody else will say, all right, what are you in the mood for? And then you pause for a moment and you think. And then you make a selection. What are you doing? Here's what you're doing. In that moment of pause, you say, all right, how am I feeling right now? And then you choose a movie that will either help you preserve that feeling or help you change it. I'm feeling sad right now. Let's watch something funny. I'm feeling aggressive right now. Let's watch some hardcore action. Break out Schwarzenegger. I'm in the mood for silly, over-the-top violence. I'm feeling romantic right now. Let's watch a
Watch
romantic.
the Notebook for the next
Right. You are making a design decision that is intended to move something from where it is to where you want it to be. And sometimes that means preserving where things are. I'm in the mood for this. Let's keep it that way. I'm in this mood. I want to change it as quickly as possible. Everybody's engaged in that activity.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I always say that, like, when you look at, even, I'm looking at my desk at the moment, and the way that I've arranged it is a design. It's design thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's arranged in a very specific way for efficiency,
Okay.
and I move things out of the way. However, if I was creating, my desk would be in a very different space. You'd have loads of stuff all over it because it's representative of the creative chaos that's in my brain. But creative brain is chaotic, therefore environment is chaotic.
Yes, it is a chaotic state, and it's like selecting chosen elements out of the chaos. And so again, with this definition of design being anything you do to move things from where they are to where you want them to be, the real functional difference maybe between artists and non-artists is the artists actually engage in fabricating things, or fabrication. We actually make something, combine those chaotic elements into a new form, a new expression of creativity, which is slightly different, maybe a lot different from picking out an outfit to go with how you're feeling or the occasion that you're going to.
Yeah.
But it's still all acts of creation and acts of design. It's just levels, having the skill set to fabricate, having the impulse to fabricate, not having the vision of what to fabricate, but it's still connected. I think it's still all part of the same game.
It is. It definitely is. It just depends on what, as you said, what level you're playing at. So, for instance, the artist who is a technical artist would be playing at a different level, or at what I would probably, not necessarily lower in terms of quality, but just lower in terms of consciousness, on a lower level than the artist who is using a flow state, a constant stream of consciousness to just paint, because you're using a different frequency. So the higher that frequency gets, is the more in tune with what we would call the universe, the more in tune we get to that. And like the higher that vibration is. So that's the whole, that's the essence of that concept, is the technical graphic designer is literally creating something that he's already been told this is what it needs to look like.
Yeah,
or they've already been given a draft, and he just has to execute it. It's still design decisions, but it's not on the same level as your, flow state artist.
Right, where all things are possible, and self-directed work. You can literally do anything you can think of, as long as you have the means and the technical ability to execute
or feel.
Right.
Feel. It's not even, because some artists don't think, they just put music on and just paint.
That's true. I've played with that a couple of times myself. You wouldn't think so looking at my work, but no, I've played with that myself a couple of times. It's interesting.
I've been told, that's how I started off with this big painting on the side here. That kind of started with me just feeling, I've got one here that I sketched. I am going to paint it at some point. You can see what it is. It's the three cats. But these are my 3 cats that I had, and who've now all passed. So, I was feeling a bit like very sorry for myself. And I was feeling very sad. So I thought,
missing your kitties.
Yes, I might as well just sketch them. I did that a year ago. I haven't painted it yet, though. But it's sat on the easel just staring at me every day, because at some point it has to be painted.
Yeah. There's something else that might be worth bringing up in this thought experiment, because there's a lot of disagreement, shall we say, in the art world, in the art industry, about what qualifies as art, what is legitimate and what is not, And I think people fail to understand what art is or what it does. So in that same idea of every design decision is moving something from where it is to where you want it to be, interacting with art, being confronted with art, creates feelings and experiences. Some of them you like, some of them you don't. And that's fine. But when we pick something, like picking that movie, when we pick a painting or a sculpture or a carpet or a piece of furniture, we are curating the spaces that we occupy. And we are adding elements that make the spaces a place that we want to be.
Yeah.
That reflect our inner state. And so, in a sense, the drawings, paintings, and sculptures are just lorries. They're just delivery vehicles for what people are actually seeking, which is feelings and experiences. And so, this is the reason I never criticize the work of other artists. And there are certainly works of art that I despise. And there are certainly artists that I think are utter hacks. It's irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Because whether I like a piece or not, if somebody selects that piece and brings it into their living space and it helps them feel the way they want to feel, helps them have the experiences they want to have, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it is, it's doing its job and it's doing it legitimately. That's the bottom line. And so there's a space for whatever it is somebody is driven to create. And there may be a larger or a smaller audience for whatever it is you create, depending on what it is. But if you lie awake at night dreaming about making this thing, if you just walk around in an agitated state because you just have to find a way to do this thing, there will be people out in the world who are attracted to it for the very same reasons that you are. They're on the same vibration. They're on the same wavelength. And they will want to have that in their lives for the very same reason you are desperate to create it. And so your quest is less as an artist, as a fine artist perhaps, your mission is less to figure out what the world wants you to create and more a quest for your audience, your tribe, who is already desperate to live with this thing that you are desperate to create.
I really like that. It's kind of like that lady who makes nappies for chickens, diapers for chickens.
Yep. I love that
Literally.
example for businesses because it's like, however bonkers you might think this business idea is, there's a way to make it work.
There's a market for it.
There's a market for it. There's a niche.
People.
Maybe a niche within a niche. I mean, who thinks of having a pet chicken, for starters?
People who live in the country.
That's a thing. There are people who, or maybe, some urban hipsters who think it's chic to have a pet chicken. Get a little, rural into their urban environment. And maybe also they have a, window box garden or something. And it's all part of this thing they're trying to create that harmonizes with where they're at. Yeah. I mean, there's a woman, I love this. I love the diapers for pet chickens. There's another one I saw years ago. I don't know if she's still in business, but years ago I saw a news piece about a woman who was making beanbag chairs in the shape of life-sized cows. Life-sized. Like most people know what a beanbag chair is, and she thought, oh, wouldn't it be wonderful if I had a beanbag chair the size and shape of a cow? And she did it, and other people saw it and said, I want one of those too. You've got a tribe out there. However unique you may think you are, however weird you might fear you are, you're probably not quite as unique or quite as weird as you think, or maybe even hope. There's somebody out there on your wavelength.
Who's definitely weirdo. There's somebody out there who's definitely weirder than you. So always.
Always, yeah. There's always a bigger dog. There's always somebody who's weirder than you. And depending on what we're talking about, that's not a contest you really want to try to win. That can go sideways really quick. But the point is,
there's always a market for your business. And
yes.
The whole point of, it's one of the reasons why I've changed what I do for a living. I'm no longer just that brand consultant. I am building networks for people. I'll help you find your market, find your tribe, because that's what I've had to do for myself.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing, because that's just as important as the branding part. But it's
I
to
agree.
find your market, finding
I
your
agree.
tribe, and finding your people, finding the people who will buy your weird and wonderful chicken diapers, like, or life-size cow bean bags. I don't know, whatever weird and wonderful things that your brain comes up with. We'll find the market for it.
Right. There may not be many people who love the idea of monumental sculptures made out of paper cups and monkey poo, but they're out there. Somebody is going to think that is the most brilliant idea.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm very much on the same wavelength. I've got a business plan that covers how I want to scale my business, and part of the way I intend to do that is to eventually start representing other artists in addition to myself, kind of create a design co-op, if in a way, so that when I interact with people and they ask for something, you're going to have to say to some people, I'm not sure we're the right fit. I'm not sure I can do the job you want properly for you. What I want to be able to do is say, but I think I know who can. And, just help them find the tribe, help the artist find their tribe, help the clients find the right artist for what they're looking for. And just, a lot of artists get really territorial.
Yeah, that's exactly why I built the Nexus. Exactly what you're talking about, because I know so many people. I would just to be able to bring them together and just let them go do your magic. Go.
Right.
Off you two.
Right.
You two love each other.
Person A, you really ought to meet person B. You're both wonderful. You're both doing wonderful things here. Go do wonderful things together.
Exactly that. And you're right. Artists and creatives in general are very territorial because they're always worried about somebody's going to steal their idea. And my hot take on stealing an idea is you can steal the idea as much as you want. You'll never execute it the same way I will.
It's true. A couple examples of that. One of my professors at art school, he liked to say, bad artists copy, good artists steal.
Great artists steal.
And he also said one of the cool things about being an artist for a long time is eventually you get to a point where you can steal from yourself. You kind of look back at your older work and you go, oh yeah, that was kind of a cool idea. I should play with that again. But sorry, I lost my train of thought briefly.
That's all right.
This isn't it, but it was something I wanted to get to. Yeah, a lot of artists get very territorial because, making a living as an artist is very hard.
Of course it is.
And we're going to actually go into that in a lot of depth over this series of podcasts From Canvas to Commerce, because a lot of artists get stuck in what I call the billion-dollar lemonade stand mentality. The art industry is a multi-billion-dollar per year industry. Just as one example, the Louvre, out of donations and probably ticket sales for special exhibitions, the Louvre, as just one entity, brings in something like $1 million, and it's filled with things that haven't moved or been sold for centuries. How can it possibly do that? That goes back to the whole feelings. What are people paying for? Feelings and experiences. What do they buy?
People want to experience everybody knows Mona Lisa. Everybody has seen a photo of the Mona Lisa. But you go there, you travel to go there to feel something when you're stood in the presence of this resting bitch face. Like,
I've never heard it described that way. I've never heard it described that way, but that's pretty good.
Doesn't smile. So
it's the enigmatic smile. But okay. I could go with that. Yeah.
That's literally what people spend money to go and see what they feel like when in the presence of this thing. And it's
that's precisely it.
It's insane when you think of it like that. It's like I'm traveling all this way to go and stand in front of a painting and see if I'm going to feel something. But people are doing it. And people will continue to do it.
And they're doing it in the millions, year after year, for centuries.
Yeah.
People wouldn't keep doing it if they didn't come away satisfied with their decision.
No. Absolutely.
So it sounds insane when you say it out loud that way. And yet, in terms of what people act out, there's something deeper going on. There's something gratifying going on. They come away feeling like that was a worthwhile investment of my time and my fortune.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think
Right.
that's just human nature, because we all do crazy things. And when you say that out loud, it sounds insane, but we all do insane things on a daily basis.
Sure,
So
sure.
we're never going to stop doing insane things.
Right. Unfortunately, most artists approach a career in art with the same level of thinking as a child setting up a roadside lemonade stand. We got to get past that. We've got to do better than that. And it's possible to do better than that.
Well, next week, what we can probably talk about is the $1 billion lemonade stand.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got a whole list of topics weekly, and you and I have done this for a few months now without recording it.
Yeah, I know.
It's that
I'm
yeast
so
thing.
sad. I'm so glad that I got my description of the Mona Lisa on recording this time, because that was smooth.
Oh, that was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. And there are going to be a host of people that agree with you.
Yeah, because that's what it is. You're traveling that far to go and see Resting Bitch Face. Like, I can Google this shit now. I just have to look in the mirror to see that. But, you know, to me, it feels like insanity. But you know what? I am going to be just like the rest of those insane people at some point, and I am going to go to the Louvre because I want to see if I feel something as well, because they're all going.
Yeah, it's curious. It's like, okay,
Curiosity.
will I feel something?
Yeah.
And
it's
maybe you will. And maybe you won't.
Maybe I'll feel
maybe
frustration.
It won't be the experience you thought it would be. Who knows?
You will feel something.
Right.
At the very,
you will
you might feel you might feel disappointment. You might feel incredibly inspired, but you will feel something leaving there.
You will have an experience.
Absolutely, definitely. Well, let's see what we come up with next week.
Yes, this feels like a good stopping point for today's
absolutely
tangential rant.
Oh, I can't wait. This is going to be good. This is going to be a good podcast, I think.
All right.
Best
Coming up on the next
ever.
episode, the $1 billion lemonade stand.